So we have got to the point with our build where Suntory wants to apply for a house book, which is one of these things here, and inside it contains the address and details of the property and also who's living there. So she's been along to the local office and they've given her some forms that need completing, and they've requested a copy of the plan of the house and the photographs of each side of the house, and also the photographs of the bathrooms. Apparently you can't get a house book unless you've got a toilet in the house. We also need to get a letter from the mayor of the village, who happens to be her uncle, and he's got to confirm various details about the house. So we've just been waiting on these prints from the photo shop that we're at, which hopefully will satisfy the government department. Right, so 5 A4 colour photographs, okay, not brilliant quality, but they were in colour, and two photocopies. This have just cost us 70 baht. I think that's pretty bloody good value. Now, getting to the nitty gritty of the little jobs to finish off here. Now, we had these doors fitted by the tiling team, and to be honest, they leave a lot to be desired. They've been fitted very untidily, and 3 of the 5 doors they fitted resist closing. And the reason for that is that the hinges have not been cut into the frame squarely, so this side of the hinge is further forward in the frame than the outside, and I don't know if you can see that there. That's only slightly. This one down the bottom is substantial. I'm sure you can see that. It's almost flat with the frame here, and it's quite deep in the frame there, so the hinge is trying to over close, if you like. So I need to take the 3 doors off, and I need to trim the wood along this edge here, and this edge here on this door, to square these hinges up, and hopefully then there won't be any resistance when we're closing. Yeah, that one looks not too bad. It's this one down here I've got to work on, really. And whilst the door's off, I want to clean this up, ready for oiling. Now, this isn't very good light because I'm working in the bathroom, which is the worst place to be without electricity and light. And I know a lot of people say I moan all the time about the quality of workmanship, but I think you can understand why when you've got doors that don't close properly because they just haven't bothered to chisel out the actual area where the hinge is in a square fashion. But look, this is an example. This is an example here of what I'm talking about. So they've actually drilled 3 or 4 times to get the right position for this hinge, instead of actually measuring and doing it properly. I mean, that's just unbelievable, really. And out of the 8, no, how many screws have I taken out? 12, 16. I've taken 16 screws out. 5 of them are so badly damaged. 2 are actually completely twisted. The head's twisted, it's almost breaking off. And they've all got damage to their actual where the screwdriver goes in. So I've got to replace those, otherwise I'm going to have a problem with one breaking at the wrong time. Well, of course, the job hasn't turned out quite as straightforward as I had hoped. I've had to recess this a bit more. It was standing proud and the door was catching on it. I've had to square off this corner here because the door was catching that, and it's still catching part of the frame. So it's off for a second time, and I'm actually digging out this hinge area slightly more so it's the same depth as the other 2, and that will draw the door sideways so it will clear the frame on the other side. But when I first tried to close it, it was closing much better now that I've squared up that one and that one down the bottom. So a little bit more work to do, but it is quite straightforward. It's just a sort of fiddly, time-consuming task, really. Right, well, that door is done, and I'm very pleased. Closes like a dream, absolutely no resistance, no catching. And it seems to be perfectly balanced as well. So yeah, brilliant. Brilliant, another job done, 2 more doors to go. Right, door number 2 to do is the second shower room, and it's the same problem really. These recesses have been cut at an angle rather than 90 degrees to the frame. That one and that one. And this one is probably the best one of the lot, but the problem is one of the screws is so badly damaged that there's absolutely no purchase from a screwdriver or any other bit that I've got in my toolkit. So I'm having to resort to taking the door off and then cutting through the screw with a hacksaw, and then I'll have to try and remove the screw from the wood in some manner. Haven't decided how yet. A bit of trial and error here. Okay, so what I've done is I've dug out around this screw just very slightly with a chisel, being careful not to smack the chisel on the screw. And now I think I can get hold of it with some pincers, and because there's a thread on the screw, that gives me something to grab hold of. And it is coming out very slowly. There we go, success. I've still got a hole to go into with the new screw. So I'm pretty pleased about that. I've just tidied this up. This looks very rough, so no doubt the hinge isn't sitting very nicely on it. You can see how the hinge wobbles. So I'm going to tidy that up as I have done with the Oh yes, we're starting to get some homely comforts now, even though we're working in a bit of a mess. So I've got a nice banana smoothie there. And some good news. Yes, you may have heard of the film called A Miracle at Christmas. Well, I can confirm it. A miracle has happened. We've got the final 3 units of our kitchen. And that is after, let's see now, the original order, a battle for replacement, rejecting several of the units when we went to collect the first lot. Then they reordered and I had to reject some more. Then they reordered incorrectly. Then they reordered and they checked them, and I was told that they were all damaged. So they reordered again, and finally we have got them. And whilst I was there, I bought a couple of mirrors for the bathrooms and a washing machine, so I can really crack on. And in the next few days I hope to be able to get all this tidied up, the rest of the kitchen and the plumbing finished, and this will suddenly become a house we can actually live inside, while Suntory and a little helper do the outside paint. Well, we've got one cabinet up, 2 doors to do. This one's a bit of a bugger as well, because again the tiles on the outside are the right size, but unfortunately he's put these blocks in proud either side, so I'm having to hack them down to make a square edge. And also this flooring area is a bit rough, it's got a few lumps in it, so it's proving quite difficult to get this unit to actually sit inside this hole here. Okay, that's one mirror put up. It's quite straightforward. One thing about these mirrors is that they have the fixings stuck on the back, and they're never in the same position. They're never square with each other, and they're never in the same position. So what I always do is measure very carefully, and I've written the measurements that are relevant to me here on the tiles in front of me, so I can continually check that I've got the measurements right. I'm marking where the hole should be. I check it again and again, and then when I've started the hole I check it. And the result is a level mirror which actually fits very nicely onto its screws. Now we're going to do the bigger mirror here in the ensuite next. Just a little thing to advise you about, in case you've never hung one of these before. These fixing plates are stuck on in the factory, and then they put some sellotape over them, which I believe is just to hold them in place while the glue sets, to be honest with you. But taking a leaf from their book, as it were, I decided to actually add some tape on the two that are going to support the weight, just to give it a bit more security, take a little bit more of the weight and the pressure in case one of those pads starts to work loose. there's half a chance that that tape will actually support the mirror rather than letting it crash down. Anyway, Bolton braces, that is. Bolton braces? Belton braces, I mean. Right, I'm not going to film this one because you've just seen the other one, but I just wanted to tell you about that tape and the fact that these are never exactly the same height from the top. This one's closer, I can see that. This one's closer by about half a centimetre than that one. So that means when you're drilling the holes, they're not going to be level, they're going to be offset from each other. Right, just to show you my calculations here, the mirror is supposed to be 100 centimetres wide, but of course it isn't, it's 99.7. So to find the centre, it's slightly less than 50. So that's that top figure there. And then these are the heights of where the screws have to be to hold the mirror. The heights from the top, so they differ by half a centimetre. And then these are the distances from the edges, which means that this is the distance from the centre, so I'm working from the centre all the time. And then I've marked all the markings on the wall here. There's a lot of them. I've got the edge of the mirror there, and then I put the mirror, because it's very, very heavy, I put the mirror down, resting on the shelf, and I mark the top, and I've come up 5 centimetres and done a level line across, and then I've dropped down. On the right is 12.2 centimetres, and on the left 11.7. That's the other side of the mirror. So when I'm hanging it, I'll have an idea of how to hold it, because I'll have these edge marks as well as having the centre mark here to work from, and I'll mark the centre of the mirror as well. Okay, it's quite a lot of measuring and checking and measuring and marking and checking going on, but then you only get one chance at drilling the hole, don't you? So, as my old dad used to say, you always measure twice and cut once. Right, as you can see, the mirror's in. It was very easy to fix. Those holes are in exactly the right position. Only problem is when I lifted it into position, the corner of the mirror fell off, and that is irreparable. So this is a write-off, this mirror, unfortunately. I'm not sure how that happened. It was in fine condition when I bought it, so it must have been my handling of it here that's damaged it. So, got to rethink this one, and it's possible we'll go for a smaller mirror that will just cover the 2 holes up that I've already drilled, because if I buy another mirror exactly the same size as this, the fixings will not be in the right place. They'll not be exactly the same places relative to each other, and the chances are they'll be very, very close to each other, so that means drilling another hole very close to an existing hole, or drilling 2 completely new holes. And I think I'd rather go for a smaller mirror actually, because the other problem is it's lined up centrally with the basin, but this wall obviously isn't quite square because there's a gap that gets smaller as it goes up, and so that doesn't look fantastic. It just catches the eye a little bit. And the idea of the big mirror was to cover up a couple of defects on the tiles, but I think we're going to have to live with those defects and go for a smaller mirror like in the other bathroom. We're going to have to make sure that this door here is bug proof, because this scorpion has just come in the house